And here we go. We are now live. Hello and good evening, everybody. Ralph Watson here. Most of you, I think, know me. Some of you, a lot of you I've met, some of you haven't. A little bit of background. I'm a professional coach, professional speaker, and an NLP master trainer. Been doing so for about the last 20 years. Why am I telling you that? Because over the years, I have coached a number of people with small businesses and particularly coaches and trainers. And one of the most common questions that I get asked by people is, how do I get more clients? How do I get more business? How do I get noticed? How do I get people to see me? Panic, panic. And then I think it must be almost 2 years ago, I met Gill, who you'll be chatting with in a few moments. And one of the things that struck me about Gill was the depth of her knowledge and understanding about these things. And the other is that she's actually quite fun to chat with. So I invited Gill earlier this year to come up to Bromsgrove, where she was our guest speaker at our Coffee and Natter event. Which went phenomenally well. In fact, it went so well, I couldn't get people out of the room afterwards.
It was very good.
Because they all wanted to chat with Gill. And we've chatted a few times since then. And I thought it would be great if I just got her to come on live with a wider audience and talk to you. So let me introduce you to the amazing Gill Fountain. Ta-da! Hello, Gill.
Grief. How do you do that? That's so, wow, I don't know. You spoil me. Gill Fountain, yes, I run 38 Partnership. I used to run a toy company and I have been in my own business for 30 years. Now, when I was with the toy business, I really was dealing with the mums, with the young children, and my target audience were really at the school gates. I worked, I lived, and I was up and down the school with the children. And my customers were en route. So if I ever got a bill, a large bill, I knew that if I just wandered down to the school gates and back again, I'd probably get the money to pay for it. It is all about being in your target audience. And I didn't realize at the time, but I was actually living inside that target audience. And it wasn't until I started my branding and marketing business that I realized how hard it was to get business when you weren't living inside that bubble that I had been living in for 20 odd years. It's not easy trying to get clients. It really isn't. And if you use one form, it doesn't work. So there has to be a host of things that go on that all join together. And this is where I started to learn about social media. I didn't grow up with social media. Social media was not part of my childhood.
I didn't grow up with a telephone.
It wasn't part of... Do you remember? I mean, I am of the era when walking down the road to the telephone box and then stood waiting for it to clear. Do you remember that?
Push button A, push button B.
Yes, and I actually went to talk to the students at my local college last year. They were all in business studies. They were all in, that was one first year and second year, so I did two lots. But I said to them, does anybody remember the old-fashioned typewriter?
I was a typewriter salesman.
Sorry?
I was a typewriter salesman.
Really? Well, I started when it was the keyboard, the manual keyboard. You know, that's when I learned at school. I was on the manual keyboard. So I said to the students, "Do any of you know, or have any of you seen a manual typewriter?" And one of them held up their phone and said, "Do you mean this?" And I said, "No, a manual typewriter. All it does is, all you can do on it is type." And they didn't have any notion about what I was talking to.
No.
talking about. So, you know, it just shows you how things have moved on, and how, if you don't keep up with the times, you just lose the plot of how to do things.
Yes.
So my whole thing all the way along is learn, and try and join it together, so that when it came to the change of me not promoting my toys and the products, but promoting the services for other people, I could learn and help my clients get their clients.
Yeah, outstanding. So if we think about it from this perspective, because I know that a number of the people that I tend to work with are in the early stages of setting up their business, creating their business. So are there any things that people should be thinking about right at the beginning, either before they set up their business or in those early days as they're getting it going? Is there a particular golden rule?
There are, yes. It is a good question, and I've come across a few people, even 20 or 30 years on, having run their own business, that change their businesses, but they don't do the due diligence. So if you, even your own name, if you search for your own name online and find out what everybody else is seeing, if you've got a company name, search for it on Google.
Mm-hmm.
Because in your mind, you may have got this fantastic company name, and then you search for it on Google and find that somebody else has beaten you to it. We had this only a couple of months ago. It was a startup business, but it was a huge investment business. And they came up with a name. And they gave us the name, and they asked us to work out a logo. And they gave us a sort of a rough drawing of a logo that they thought they'd like. And when we searched online, we did just one search on Google, and they'd gone head to head with one of the biggest energy companies in the States.
Oh, dangerous.
So they would never get on page 1 of Google, however much they bribed people. They were not going to do it. Somebody else I know has got the same name as a famous golfer.
Mm-hmm.
So they have to alter their name accordingly. There was one this morning, same name as another big company, totally unrelated to what he did. But it is the case of trying to either put your middle name in, or do something with if you're going to use your own name, make it something that will distinguish you from anyone else. But also, if you've chosen a business name, search for it on Google, search for it on Facebook,
mm-hmm.
Go into the likes of GoDaddy or 123reg and search for the URL to make sure that nobody else has got it. Because again, we've had times where people have come, they've had their business running on Facebook for quite a long time, they haven't got a website. So many years up the road, they've decided they need a website. But when they've gone to find their company name and register it, the domain name's already taken.
Mm.
And they've lost it. You know, it's very hard to go up against competition that has been existing for quite a few years. Even though you've built your audience, your clientele around you, as soon as you put it online and you're going head to head with someone else, it's very, very difficult with that sort of competition.
Absolutely. I've always done companies' house searches as well.
Yes, company house. I mean, if you're going limited, obviously, well, even if you're not going limited, you should check it. I think that's probably, when people start up as sole traders, that's probably one of the last things they think about looking in, because they've decided they're not going limited and they don't think about the company name. And I have to admit that when we did go from sole trader to limited, and the name that we chose first off as going into the limited company, we couldn't have, because it had already been taken. And yes, we got quite a good name in the end, but our minds had already been, you know, we were thinking, well, that would be the perfect name. And then when we checked on Companies House, it had already been taken and we couldn't have it. So yeah, there's all these checks that you really should do just to make sure that your dream name isn't being used by somebody else.
Right. Okay. And because that leads me on then, because you talk about your company name, is that whole thing around the identity of your company and how people see it and perceive it. I use the dreaded word brand because at one time, the only time people talked about a brand was when they talked about Coca-Cola, Nike, or Nescafe Gold Blend.
Yeah, that's right.
The coffee blend for.
We all know those brands, don't we? But when you're trying to build your own brand up, it's very important to get the feel that you want to portray to everyone else. Now that can be it's a makeup of a whole load of things, including the colour scheme and the fonts and how you want your logo to look. There's a huge amount of information that goes into sorting out a brand for somebody. It isn't just the case of picking one colour and thinking it matches with something else, because you could have, for a start, it's a good idea to search your competitors.
Yes.
And people say, oh, what's that got to do with it? But actually, you don't want to go head to head with your competitors. You may have found that you've chosen the same colour scheme as them.
Mm-hmm.
And you just don't want to be thought that you're copying somebody else. You want to be unique.
Right.
And the logo is important. And I will go into some technical detail, because for anybody, jot this down. If you're going to do a logo, get it sorted out in a vector format, because that's going into technical detail. But the thing is that if you just get a drawing or take a picture, it just doesn't work scaling up and down. And what you need is a logo that you can put in any hole, wherever you are, any slot, online, offline, and it will all scale up and down, and to the point that it never goes blurry.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't want it overlapping, you don't want it going blurry, you don't want it to look as if that picture's stretched. And by having it in a vector form, sorry about that, it doesn't do that. It works perfectly.
Okay.
But it's not only about your logo, is it? It's all about your personal branding as well.
Absolutely.
And that is important. It's the way you answer the phone, it's the way you turn up to meetings, it's the way you address people. I think you do a bit on this yourself, don't you, Ralph?
Yeah.
It's
Me and my friend here.
Yes. Yes. Well, look at you. That's exactly it. You've got your wolf in your logo. Mm-hmm. That sits on top of your name there. Yes. And it's immediately identifiable.
You got it.
That word. New word. Recognizable.
That's it.
That's it. Immediately everybody recognizes it. So yes, try and get something that says all about you, and not copy anybody else. And I suppose that really does take us on to images as well, about copying images. Don't ever copy somebody else's image. I had one lady who said, it's all right, Jill, you can put these images on my website. I pinch them from B&Q. Like, no, we cannot take them from B&Q. You've got to have either free or licensed images, or have some of your own.
I go to great pains to purchase the images that I use. And the reason I do that is because some years ago, when I was fairly naive, I did a post. It was just a harmless social media post. And I used a picture of a guy sitting at a computer.
Right.
And the next thing I know, I get a very polite email with a PDF attachment with an invoice for £90 from the photographer who owned the photograph. Now, I had to put my hands up and say, look, I really didn't realise this. It was just an innocuous picture of a guy with working at a PC. He said, yes, that's how I make my living.
Well, the culprits, they're not the culprits at all. They are in the right. But the people that make an enormous amount of money are Getty.
Mm.
If you take a Getty photo without purchasing the license, they will send you a bill, and it's a hefty bill.
Yeah.
And to be honest, we don't know that anybody's got out of it. It can be very costly. So always make sure that you use free images, or you've licensed the image, or you've taken them yourself.
Yep.
These are just stories that over the years we've picked up. We had one company that was making up a project. They sorted out a project. They'd spent 6 months on this project. The project had a name. They launched the project, and within, I think it was 9 hours, Shell had written a cease and desist, because they launched it out, did all the promotion. It just happened to be a Shell company that wasn't being used anymore, one of their subsidiaries. Yep. And they'd named the project the same thing. They said, we looked everywhere, but it was just that it was in a place that they just didn't take any notice of.
That's right.
So that was 9 hours, cease and desist, and they had to back out of the whole thing and rename the whole thing.
Wow.
So it is very important. I don't want to scare anybody, but it is important to do the check-in first.
Due diligence.
Due diligence, yes.
Due diligence.
That's right.
Okay, so kind of thought about what we're going to call ourselves.
Yes.
We've done some due diligence, so
yes.
we know that we have a company name that's not going to get us into some hot water.
Yeah.
We've started thinking about getting a presence online. How do we create that presence, and how do we get seen?
Right. What I did is, to start off, you have to sort out, if you're going out networking, you do have to have your business cards.
Yes.
And that all comes from the branding. So
Yep.
your branding's first, and then you can start on, and everything else that falls into place afterwards. You can set up if you've already got a Facebook profile, you can set up a Facebook page.
Mm-hmm.
Again, unified branding, marketing, so you use the same branding all the way through. If you've got a LinkedIn account, and I would actually recommend that any business owner had a LinkedIn account, you set up your LinkedIn account. And even if you don't set it up as a company or a page, you've got your profile, which tells people the company name and what the type of work that you're doing. And with LinkedIn profiles, it is all about the benefits, as with everything else really. It's not I sell this, I do this. It's the benefits that the client will get by working with you.
Yeah. And
the art is to be friendly.
Mm.
Come over friendly. You have to do that know, like and trust before people will buy. And if you come over that you just list down your products and you haven't got that sort of niceness in it, people won't buy from you. And people buy from people they like.
Mm.
So yes, you can go on to Facebook. There are all the other platforms that you can do. There's 100 different ways of getting yourself known on and offline. I do a talk on it, which I will do, not 100, but when I come up to you at Walsall, I'll do some of those bits there.
Quick plug.
Thursday, go on then.
Thursday the 21st of November, 1 p.m. till 3 p.m, Coffee and Natter, Walsall.
And I will be talking about the different ways that you can increase your visibility on and offline.
Okay.
And if I've got any time, I'll add another little thing that is all about finding gaps as well, if I've got time, because I don't know how far I'll get with that. But certainly networking face-to-face gets yourself known in the local community. And being online and posting consistently will start to draw people in. Mm-hmm. It's not as easy as that. It really isn't. It's an ongoing thing. But you're in business, so you have to market your business in some way or other. And the art is to not go out and pay somebody hundreds of pounds a month in marketing if you can at that point do a bit of it yourself. And there's lots of ways online that you can promote your business without it costing a lot of money. And the one way that I think works for most people is claiming your Google My Business, which you may have seen. So if I say that, if you can visualize, you go onto Google and you type in, say, I don't know, cleaner in Bromsgrove, say, cleaner in Bromsgrove. And on the right, is that the right hand side for you? On the right hand side of the page, you'll see a picture and the name of a company that's a cleaner. And if it says claim this business, then nobody's claimed it. But normally what you would do is you claim your business, and if you've registered your business will be there. And fill in the forms and get it verified. It's free. It is free. You do have to verify it. You do have to put posts up and photographs in.
Yes.
However, it can get you 1,000 more people viewing your business. It can get you 7,000 more people a month, this is, viewing your business if you've got it set up right. If you do it yourself, it is completely free. You've taken a bit of time. It's quite self-explanatory, but it is free. Now, there are some cases that it doesn't work. So you have a list of categories that you have to choose from. I've got one client and she's a children's author. And she struggles to get business through Google My Business, even though she's set it up correctly, because it appears that there are certain types of businesses where people are just searching for them. Mm-hmm. There are other types of businesses that people don't think to search in that manner. They find them in other ways. So certainly if you're a trade, hairdressers, a plumber, a carpet fitter, whatever, you certainly get thousands upon thousands of new people. Bed and breakfast, for instance, hotels, yes, again, you will. It's the more obscure people, businesses that don't, lawyers, solicitors, all of those, yes. But children's author, we've hit a bit of a snag there where we're not getting so many people to see her because the categories are just not available. And Google will give you categories to choose from, but they've set them. Nobody else has set them.
Right.
And there's no getting around it. If your category isn't in there, you just have to sit and wait, and eventually it might come up. But you can't ask them to set it up. You can't, there's just nothing you can do. You just have to. So on most cases, people can find 2 or 3 different categories to identify with. But there are the odd 1 or 2 now and then that it just doesn't work. But from my point of view, I would claim your business because somebody else might claim it for you.
Yes.
And Google really are a struggle. If somebody has claimed it and you say, no, that's my business, it's quite a nightmare going through to be able to get it back. Yes. So you've got, say you've got a couple of restaurants in the town and they're quite similar in name, and one person has claimed the other person's business, that the person that's claimed it will get all of their sales. So somebody goes on to order via Google My Business, it goes straight through to the first person's website, the competitor's website, right. And they're merrily taking the orders with the telephone numbers whilst you're actually losing business. Okay. So it is important to claim your business.
So do you then have to kind of feed it as if you're like feeding social media?
Well, the thing is, it's really easy because Google will send you a notification every month, and they'll say you've had so many people visit your site, you've had so many people click through to your website because you can link it all through, or you've had so many people phone you. So they'll give you the stats, and then they'll say, why don't you post another event, or can you add more photos? So all I do is when Google sends me a notification, I have a look, go, oh, right, okay. Click on my button, go straight in and add another post.
Okay.
And then if you can get reviews, if you can get reviews, that adds it up. So what it's doing is it's another area where you can be seen, and the better you do it, the more you post into it, even though it's only once a month.
Right.
Google will see that you're being active. If you're getting reviews, they'll see that you're being active, and they will extend your reach out. And it's all about ticking those boxes with Google so that they will widen the amount of people that see your business.
Okay. How do you get reviews?
On your account, inside Google My Business, it will give you a little link.
Yes.
Says, and you put them on the bottom of your emails. You can ask people, let's say Facebook Messenger. We do use Facebook Messenger now and then. If you've done somebody a favour, if you've done somebody a favour, if you've done a good deed, it's quite nice to say, would you mind, I know that, we've worked together, we've done this, or we met each other, I helped you out. Would you mind giving me a quick review? You don't actually have to say, I've worked with this person. I've had people before where I've met them at networking, and I've just in the course of 10 minutes given them a bit of advice, and I've said to them, do you mind giving me a review or a testimonial? If you think I've been of some help here. And then, yes, of course, Jill. And they'll give me and that may not be on Google My Business, but it may be on LinkedIn, say, get a recommendation on LinkedIn.
Right. So could we get kind of sneaky here? Because, I have a lot, there's a lot of us in this community, in this Coaching Wolves community. And incidentally, if you're watching this and you're not in the Coaching Wolves community, why aren't you in the Coaching Wolves community? It might be worth, if I put something in the community, for us to go giving each other some reviews.
Certainly, you've got, say, for instance, if you think about the hundreds of people that you have coached, if at the end of your meetings you would say, or on your literature or the next email that you send out, you put on your Google My Business link as well, because it's clearly in there, and ask for a review or a testimonial, then do it.
Okay, cool. Because I'm all about helping as many people in the community grow their business as I can. So if we can find the hacks, if you like, that help us to help each other, then bingo.
Yes.
If you get 100 people each giving each other reviews, boom, that's the way to go. That's the way to go.
And it can be, in actual fact, I think Karen gave me one at one point. Karen here, I think she's given me one, where we sat and had an hour's chat. And I just said to her, do you think you could just give me a testimonial or a quote that I can do?
Cool.
And she said, yeah, no, that's not a problem at all. And, we'd had a half hour, an hour's exchange of me just giving little tips, really. That's all it was. But she very kindly popped a testimonial up for me. So everything that you can do to help each other. It's not working in isolation. If you see people as your competitors, they will be your competitors. If you treat them like competitors, they'll be your competitors. So really it is all about trying to make it easier and build each other up as much as you can.
Okay, cool. So we've talked, briefly bounced on LinkedIn, briefly touched on Google My Business. How important is it that we have this kind of spread across social media rather than just focusing on one? So I know some people say, well, I've got a LinkedIn account, that'll do.
The thing with that is that not everybody your ideal customer may not be on LinkedIn.
Mm-hmm.
Your ideal customer may prefer Instagram. They may like Twitter. They may like, wherever they are, you sometimes being a little bit broader helps, because you're identifying people that you're connecting with people that you wouldn't necessarily connect. And also, it's not really about the people that it's not only about the people that you are immediately connected with. If you can get to know people quite well, they will refer you. So it's not all about getting the business from the person that stood in front of you. It's making a good enough impression on the person in front of you, so they not only think, oh, actually I can use them, but I'm also going to tell my friends.
Okay.
The important thing about being in different places is that you do attract a different type of person. So the posts that you put on Facebook are not necessarily written in the same way as you would put on LinkedIn.
No, I've noticed. Yeah.
Yeah. And the whole thing about having more of a spread across online is that you will come up in the search engines for LinkedIn and for Facebook and for Twitter. So, you know, you're expanding your reach because you're on different platforms. I'm not saying that you have to be an expert on everyone and spend 6 hours a day on social media, because that's really not the way to do it. But it is a good idea not to just concentrate on one, because you really are putting all your eggs in one basket, and that's probably not the way to go. And I actually also think that the people that only do online marketing are losing a trick, because if you can get out and meet people, that's when your personality shines through.
Absolutely.
So
absolutely.
Yes.
I found that when I was at the Festival of Enterprise last week.
Oh yeah.
It was really fascinating. The number of people, because I was there supporting Pathway to Grow.
Yes.
The number of people who came over and said, "Hey, you're Ralph Watson, aren't you? I've been looking at you online,
really,
on Facebook or on LinkedIn." I had no idea who they were, but they kind of spotted me. So there is a great deal to be said for being out there. Now, I had 15 years of international traveling.
Yeah.
Where frankly I was hardly ever in the UK. In fact, at one point, I think I probably came home every 6 months. When I decided I'm going to do a lot more here, I had to change my tack completely, because in the Middle East, very little networking done.
Really? Oh
yeah. And in India, I didn't see very much by way of networking being done. In Turkey, I came across BNI a couple of times, but I didn't see a huge amount. But here, it is meat and bread.
Oh yeah.
To business owners, to small business owners. You know, I come across people, and wherever I go, I see them there. So if I go to say Chutney and Chat in the evening, I meet the guy. I go and host Coffee Natter in Warsaw. There he is. I do Coffee Natter in Bromsgrove. There he is. I see a photograph from Zero Networking, 8 o'clock in the morning. They're having breakfast, and there he is. And when I chat with these people, I find that they are actually doing business through that networking, because that's where their target market is. The people they do business with, and even more importantly, and that's what a lot of people miss, is that it's not necessarily the people in the room, it's who else they know.
Yeah, it is. And you never know, online particularly, you never know who is watching. Mm-hmm. So this is why it's really important to get that equal spread around, because I was talking to a girl that I was used to work with. She was at the time a buyer of one store, and I called her for a client, because what's happening now is the clients, the buyers that I used to work with in the high street stores, I'm still in contact with, but I'm now introducing my clients to them. Mm-hmm. So it's their bread and butter. You know, they need new and fresh suppliers and producers coming through. So I now and then introduce my clients that I'm working with that have got a product into the toys and nursery sector. Anyway, I've going back to the story, I phoned her the other day to do just that. And at the end of the telephone call, she said, Jill, you've got some amazing contacts online. I didn't even know she was connected with me, but she had been watching, and it was on LinkedIn. She'd connected with me a long time ago on LinkedIn, and I'd missed it. But she could see that the connections that I had online and who was responding to my comments and my posts. And you think you just never know who you are watching, or who is watching you. So they may be in the background, but if you're able to put the service that you do and the benefits and the way you help people over, it doesn't have to be the person that's commenting individually. It can be those steps away, that wider circle, and they'll still promote you. It's a fascinating subject, I think, but face-to-face for me works better than social media, I must admit.
Yes, I mean, I do spend quite a bit of time on social media, and I do quite a lot of face-to-face networking. To be honest, I do most of it these days because I just enjoy it. You know, I've reached the point where I've had a successful business for 20 years, and I'm just kind of enjoying life now.
Yeah, I enjoy it. Some people shake in their shoes and get very nervous, and I think you just get over that. In the end, I think to begin with, you get over it. But going back to your comment about networking in India, the Rotary in India is an amazing place.
Yes.
Because the hundreds of people are Rotarians, and that's where they do their business. In actual fact, that's where I learned, not India, let's get that clear. It wasn't India that I learned to network, but it was in Rotary that I learned to network, because I was going around all the different clubs, and I was one of the first women that were allowed, because you had this male only. When I joined, we were the first club in our area that would allow women in, but it was in that first stages of allowing women into Rotary. And being a woman,
slippery slope.
It was a slippery slope, and I ended up as president, which was even worse. The slope went down. But I learned then, because I was mixing with some really nice, actually, but successful businessmen, and we would all have a meal together every week. But I would also visit other clubs. So I was meeting new people all the time, and that's how you learn to network. You just have to be out there, and it's not only about meeting the same people every week. I know lots of people think that's a good idea, but if you can get out of your area as well, same as when I came up to you, you know, I came out of my immediate location, and I've since found that being networking in Basingstoke is great. However, equally, anywhere in the country that I want to go to, I get the same welcome, I get the same feedback, I enjoy the meetings. It's great fun.
Yeah. Because all of your stuff is valid wherever you are, not just in the country, pretty much anywhere in the world. It's all valid. So it doesn't matter.
Yeah. Yes, it is.
Okay. So we've talked a lot about social media. We talked about brand, etc.
Yeah.
Can we talk about websites for a moment?
Whoa. Okay. I have got, if anybody's interested, an ebook on my website, which is, let me think how it's made. Mistakes made when building your own website, or something. 10 mistakes made when building your own website. It's an ebook that I did last year. Anybody can go on and download that if they want to. Websites are tricky. There are quite a few companies out there that will that don't do you any favors.
Yep.
The whole art with a website is to design it so that your clients and the search engines can find it. So your clients love it and the search engines love it. If you don't set up your Google Analytics, Google won't be able to get into your site to be able to score it. So that means it's like having a shed, a box, if you like, having a treasure box, a treasure trove with a padlock on it. And when you set up your Google Analytics, the padlock comes off and the lid comes open and everybody can get into the box. Mm-hmm. Google can get into the box. If you don't set up your Google Analytics, that padlock is never undone. So however much they try to get in, they can't.
Right.
That's one thing. There's hundreds of things I can tell you about websites.
Give us the top 3.
Well, freshness. Mm-hmm. Once you've got a website, so these are not in any order. The more you refresh your website by tweaking it here and there, it doesn't mean to say you have to put a new blog on every week. It just means that you can go on and make even 2 or 3 words alteration to the website. Yep. It keeps it fresh. And at that point, I'm going to have a glass of water. And because it's marked then as fresh, it's marked as being you're active. You've got people that you are interested in your website. You've possibly got people coming onto your website, but the fact is that you've put something on there to keep it fresh, and you get brownie points.
Great.
The one thing that is an absolute nightmare is you've set your domain name up. Mm-hmm. You may have handed those login details to your website designer. Uh-huh. Do not let him keep it. So as soon as he's finished using whatever he needs to do with that domain, connecting it all up, go back into your domain name login, change your password so that he cannot get back in.
Right.
Now, that may seem trivial, but I would say nearly everyone that comes to us have got problems because they can't remember who their website designer is. They've left the country, he's gone out of business. They don't know what their login codes are. It is a nightmare trying to find things. We've got one guy who has a website set up in his own name, and it's not you, Ralph. It's not you at all. He's got his website set up. His domain name is his own name, and he cannot get that transferred to the new website that he's had done because the website designer won't give it over. And they basically are holding them to ransom.
I had that experience because I had my website designed and managed by a guy, and it was hosted through GoDaddy.
Yes.
Which is not a problem.
Yeah.
Then he disappeared.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying he did a runner with the money.
No.
Nobody could find him. No. The problem was that in doing so, I had no access to do anything with my website. And suddenly everything went down because I had been paying him and he had been paying them.
Yeah.
So I had, and this is where I give 10 out of 10 to GoDaddy. I had 2 lengthy telephone conversations with them. And within 24 hours, I'd got my domain name back and I had rebuilt a basic WordPress website in order to give me some presence while I kind of took on the rest of it. But I can see where it could be a complete nightmare, especially people who have their domains hosted by a service provider, because if you fall out with them, they've got you.
It's not nice. Yeah. We spent, well, Chris, not myself, but Chris spent the equivalent of 15 hours talking to the client talking to the service provider, who would not let go. And in the end, Chris was actually typing the exact words to tell them, and they kept coming back with different questions. And Chris, in the end, Chris said, so don't answer, don't say, dear this, thank you for that, just keep going on that question. And she just kept going. Every time they came back, she just sent the same question back again. And in the end, they let it go. But it was tears. It was lots of tears. And we've got one this week, which is going through the same thing. And he was convinced that he had the details, he had the login codes, but what he actually had was access to the back end of his website so that he could alter his website, but he didn't realise. He thought it was access to his domain name.
Okay.
It's been sorted out in the end, but it is so important for you to keep hold of and be in control. That's the thing. Make sure that you're in control. If you lend out the login details to anyone, change your password as they come back in so they can't take it.
Yes.
So that's that. That's one. And the other one was freshness, which is, that's not quite as important, but that is. And Google Analytics, absolutely. There's a whole load of other things that go on with a website, but it's really probably another hour's webinar.
Oh, can you come back next week?
Goodness. So let's just think, there's a few things. So if on a Facebook profile you've got self-employed, go in and edit the bio.
Yes. Take
away self-employed and put business owner or something.
Yeah.
Entrepreneur, founder, anything you want to put, but take away the self-employed, because you are actually devaluing your capabilities.
Yeah, window cleaners are self-employed.
It's just perception from people. That's all.
Absolutely.
Cool. So yeah. Anything? What else can we talk about? We've got loads. I don't know when to stop. That's
You've
my
got.
problem.
Have you got anything coming up by way of webinars or workshops or anything that these folks might want to talk about?
I have. Hang on.
Pen and paper time, folks.
I will type it in to the chat box. I have got a free webinar coming up, and it's 5 steps to develop an A+ LinkedIn profile. It's a virtual workshop. I'm running the same session 5 days in a row. Now, it's a 1-session learning. It will be about an hour, but I'm repeating it day after day after day, because I find that when I'm told something, I never take it in the first time. It takes me usually 6 times to get it in.
Really?
So with that, I'm a bit slow at times. So with that in mind, if somebody wanted to sign up for this, let me get it into chat. If somebody wanted to sign up, there it goes. So if you wanted to sign up, it's on Eventbrite. It's an online virtual workshop. 5 steps to develop an A+ LinkedIn profile. You've got 5 days to choose from if you can make any of those days, but I'm quite happy to see you 5 times. I really don't mind. It would be, if you want to just come back and listen again to the same thing, and at the end you will have learned how to.
You'll get some stalkers.
I don't mind them. So I've got that coming up second week in, I think it's the second week in, it's the 14th for 5 days, 14th of November for 5 days, for 5 nights, an hour, 8 o'clock, I think it is.
Okay.
And that's on Eventbrite. I'm coming to you in Walsall.
We've got 14th of November for that.
Yep.
5 nights. We've got 21st of November when you're coming up to visit us in Walsall.
Yes.
And I guess the teaser is that you and I are already talking about potentially doing a 2-day workshop sometime in the new year.
Yes, that would be fun.
Which will be around supercharging your business in some way.
Yes, because we've only really briefly touched. I know it's been an hour nearly.
Yeah.
But if I have got reams and reams of paperwork with loads of ideas. Can I just do one little story?
Yes, please do.
I was at a business expo the other day, it was packed, so much so that we had trouble finding somewhere to sit and have a coffee, my friend and I. And we were sat at the table and people would come in and join in us because, you know, we were having to share tables and budge around a bit. So my friend Dawn said to me, do you think I could put a leaflet of mine on the table? Do you think I could be very cheeky? And I said, no, I'll put one of mine. So she put this down.
All right.
Which we designed. And I put this down for my Marketing Diamonds program, visibility program. And we carried on talking and we didn't really think anything of it. And out of the corner of my eye, I saw this guy and he looked over and he looked at my Marketing Diamonds.
Yep.
And he discounted it. And I thought, well, that might as well have gone in the bin. And then he looked at Dawn's and he saw her picture. And he looked at the table, looked at it, looked up at her, started talking. 20 minutes later, he was still talking to her and he wasn't chatting her up. He was talking about business. He'd seen her photo, seen that it was the business owner sat across the desk at him, the table at him with the coffee, and immediately started talking because she'd got credibility. He recognised her and she was worth talking to. Me, forgot to put my picture anywhere, didn't even get a look in.
All right.
So if you're doing any literature, be sure to put somewhere to put your photo. Don't be worried about putting your photo on because having the photo, people like speaking to business owners. You're important. It's good.
Yeah.
And I could have kicked myself because I designed both of them and I should know better.
Cool. Excellent. So have we got 5 minutes for some questions? So this is where we open the floor, folks. If you can use the chat box.
I've just looked at the chat box. Karen, yes, you did. Thank you very much for that.
If anyone has any questions, please fire away and I'm happy to facilitate them. If not, we're off for the fish and chips.
Yeah. off for a cup of tea.
That's it.
So who will be joining us in Walsall? Anybody coming into Walsall in November?
I think Fari might be there and I think Karen might be there. I'm not sure.
Right.
Need to check.
Yeah.
I'm hoping we will see them there.
Yeah.
They're not. No one's typing for us.
No.
There you go. Whoa, here we go. From Penny, what advice do you have about going limited?
Take some advice from your accountant. And if you haven't got an accountant, find somebody at networking who has got the qualifications and ask them. Okay, I went limited because we had to go limited. There was no doubt about it. We just, we were at that point we were at risk basically because the business was growing at a rate of knots. This is when I ran the toy company. What I didn't appreciate was the day you go limited, whatever credit you have beforehand, whatever history you have with your suppliers beforehand, you don't get the day after because you're then a limited company. And as soon as they type in your new name, they don't link it to your old one. So we went from having fantastic credit and terms and everything to shocking, absolutely shocking, having to pay up. I mean, you know, if you've been in business a while and you're ordering containers and you're importing and exporting, there is a line of credit that goes on. And the day after we went limited, that line just disappeared and we had to start again.
Yeah,
that was scary. That was scary. But my view on limited is really get some solid advice from somebody that knows.
Yeah, I think to an extent it depends on the business you're in. I mean, I had a limited company, Ralph Watson Partnership Limited. And 3 years ago, my accountant said to me, Ralph, it's time to bust that just close it down. You don't owe anybody any money. You're doing great. But a limited company, the only thing that's doing for you is it's involving you in paying me more.
Yeah, there is more paperwork for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's that one. What else?
Talk to your accountant. Karen says, so Google My Business, is it worth putting blogs on?
Okay, where do you normally put your blogs, Karen?
On a blog page.
On your website page? On website, okay. So what you do is there's a way of reusing your blogs. So you've got it on your website page, you've got the image, you've got the content underneath. So you go to your Google My Business, you upload the same picture, the same image, and then you use a couple of sentences or a paragraph out of your blog. Type that in, copy and paste it in, and then just put read more, and then point them through to your blog page. Don't point them to your immediate article. Point them to the page beforehand. So you point them to the bit on your menu that says blogs, and they click into the blog page, and they see a selection of blogs, and they look at the same picture and they click on that particular blog. You can use that blog 6 or 7 times scattered around. You can use it on Instagram, use the same picture again, point it to that particular page beforehand. LinkedIn, use a different paragraph, use different words, point it in. And the reason you're pointing it to the page before the actual article is that you want to have a very low bounce rate. So a bounce rate means people coming onto your website, staying on your website, and following it through page by page. So if they go onto your website and they click onto a second page, you do not get a bounce rate. If they come onto your website and they come onto the page and then they bounce straight off again, so that means they leave your website directly, your bounce rate goes up. And if your bounce rate goes up, then Google penalizes you and you get down lower in the rankings. Do you see what I mean about talking about websites?
Yeah, so
it's embarrassing, isn't it?
So basically, you want them to come into your site, look around a bit before they go.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. So people think that they should put them directly to the article that they want to read, but really, if you haven't got anything in that article that will lead them through to another step on the website, then you're just increasing your bounce rate. And as soon as that goes up to a certain level, Google will say she's sending people to a website that they're not interested in. They're coming off straight away. It's obviously not the content that they want to read, and content is king. So we're just going to drop her down the rankings.
Okay, cool. Okay. Anjum says, what's your view on using YouTube as a marketing channel?
YouTube, you can make a lot of money on YouTube if you get it right. I haven't worked out how to get it right at the moment, but you can make a lot of money. If you've got your videos, it's wise to put them on YouTube, hold them on YouTube, and point people to those articles, to that account on YouTube. I make it. What was the question again? Tell me the next bit again.
Okay.
Marketing on YouTube. Yeah, so again, you can point people to your video on YouTube, and it's really where you can be seen, where you can point people to as another way of viewing your content. So if you've got your account and it's not a private account or whatever, because you can have a public or a private account, can't you? So you can point them to the exact video that you want them to see. If it's a public one, how do you get people in general? I don't know how you get people from the masses to see that one video of yours, but certainly as point people to it, it's a good form of marketing. People like videos.
It's fast becoming the number one. One of the things that I discovered is if I'm doing an event and I do a video to promote the event, I put the video onto YouTube, and in the blurb, I also put a link to the event.
Yes.
So people can watch the video
And then
click out. So I'm getting them into YouTube, and then I'm giving them somewhere to go from YouTube.
Yeah. And that is always a wise thing to do. You know, you always put the next step on to lead them, because the worst thing that you can do is to get a client all excited about something and then not point them in the right direction for their next step. So not having a call to action or a lead on to the next step is frustrating for any potential client.
Yeah. Excellent. Well done. Okay. Question here from Fari. So if you're starting out, is it better to start off as a sole trader? Fari is literally just starting out as a coach.
What do you think on that? Because I've got my own views on that, which may not be the right ones.
Well, I generally think, I mean, at this stage of the game where you are literally just fresh out of the training school and not even getting into the loop of getting your business set up, I would generally say start by taking small steps, and then when you've got you've got an establishment, a basis for your business, then talk to an accountant and say, this is what I'm doing, this is where it's going, what do you think? And get the right professional advice then as to which way you go.
Yeah.
But at the early stages, when people have just finished a coaching program and are literally at that kind of stage, I would generally say take some small steps and then decide where you're going to go.
Yeah, because so much changes in the first 6 months of trading anyway. I mean, what you think you're going to concentrate on may not be what you think you're going to concentrate on in 6 months' time.
Right.
So I firmly believe in taking small steps, and to the point, don't sign up for a year's agreement with something or other. Don't sign anything that will take. There's plenty of people out there that will try and take thousands of pounds off of you. Sorry to say.
Oh, they're queuing up.
They see you coming. So really just be very, very cautious and sit back. And even if you say to people, I'm just trying to get myself established, see where I sit in the market. No, I'm going to rethink any of this in 6 months' time.
Right.
That's a perfectly good excuse. Because you just need that time to get your head around it and to really fine tune where you want to be and what sort of client you want to deal with and work with. Baby steps.
Baby steps. Okay, which just about runs us out of time, Jill. So
wow.
May I, on behalf of everybody who is here and all those who are eagerly awaiting the link to trot off and see the recording,
very forbid.
A very warm thank you.
I forgot about the recording.
Yay.
Oh, it's been fun. I've loved it.
Good. Me too. It's been really great. So what I'm going to do is I am now going to stop the recording.
Okay.
And so the recording is now stopping now.